November. For a lot of us gardeners, that word brings a little shiver. The days get shorter, the air gets that distinct chill, and the threat of frost hangs over everything we've worked so hard for all summer. It feels like the end of the line, a time to pack up the tools and wait for spring. But what if I told you that for some crops, November is the best time to grow, that the cold and the frost aren't enemies, but secret ingredients that unlock incredible flavor and growth you just can't get in the heat of July? This is where the magic of container gardening really shines. When you grow in containers, you become the master of your garden's universe. You control everything: the soil temperature, the drainage, the specific nutrients your plants get, and even the microclimate. Is a hard frost coming? Just move your pots to a more sheltered spot. Is the soil too soggy? You've already built in perfect drainage. This level of control means you can defy the season and grow an incredible amount of food, even in a small space like a balcony or patio. It's about working smarter, not harder, and turning the challenges of November into your greatest advantages. So, forget everything you thought you knew about the end of the gardening season. Today, we're diving into 10 powerhouse crops that don't just tolerate the cold, they absolutely thrive in it, especially in containers. We're going to turn your November into one of the most productive, flavorful, and rewarding months of the entire year. You'll be harvesting fresh, delicious food when everyone else has given up. Let's start with the first powerhouse. First up is the absolute king of cold weather greens, spinach. This isn't the delicate, heat-sensitive plant you struggle with in summer. November spinach is a different beast entirely. Tough, resilient, and unbelievably productive. When temperatures drop, spinach's growth might slow a little, but the plant itself gets stronger, and here's the science-backed secret. The cold triggers the plant to produce more sugars, which act as a natural antifreeze. The amazing side effect for us? The leaves become incredibly sweet and tender. For containers, a pot that's at least 6 to 8 inches deep and about 10 inches wide is perfect. This gives the taproot enough room to stretch out and supports a lush canopy of leaves you can harvest over and over. To really supercharge your spinach, I have a 2-part trick. First, make sure your potting mix is rich in compost. Spinach is a heavy feeder, and that organic matter provides a slow, steady supply of nutrients. Second, about once a month, dissolve a tablespoon of Epsom salt in a gallon of water and give your plants a good drink. This provides a boost of magnesium, which is crucial for chlorophyll production and results in those deep, vibrant green leaves. You'll be amazed at the continuous harvest you can get. But as great as spinach is, there's another crop that's even faster from seed to harvest. Let's talk about the speed demon of the fall garden. If you want near-instant gratification, you have to grow radishes. These are the sprinters of the vegetable world, often ready to harvest in as little as 30 days. Growing them in November is a game changer because you completely avoid the 2 biggest problems they face in summer. Media group. Healthy radishes growing in cool weather container garden. Wilting radishes under hot sun for contrast to stock. Distribute equally bolting, which is going to seed, and developing a woody, overly spicy flavor. The cool soil keeps them crisp, mild, and juicy. A container that's at least 6 inches deep is non-negotiable. This gives the root enough space to bulb up properly without hitting the bottom of the pot. A wider, trough-style planter works great for planting a whole row of them. Make sure you use a light, fluffy potting mix that's free of rocks and clumps, as any obstruction can cause the roots to fork and deform. Now for a little old-timer's secret for sweet, perfectly formed radishes. Wood ash. If you have a fireplace or a fire pit, a very light dusting of wood ash worked into the top layer of your soil provides a fantastic source of potassium. Potassium is essential for root development, and the ash also helps to slightly sweeten the soil, which radishes love. Just a little bit goes a long way. Plant your seeds about 1/2 inch deep and 1 inch or 2 apart, and you'll be pulling up those beautiful red orbs before you know it. Radishes are fast, but the next crop on our list might just be the most productive one you can grow in a single pot. Imagine stepping out onto your patio in the middle of November and harvesting a fresh, crisp salad for dinner. With container-grown lettuce, that's not just possible, it's easy. We're specifically talking about loose-leaf varieties here, not the head-forming types like iceberg. Varieties like Blackseed Simpson or Oak Leaf are perfect because you can use the cut-and-come-again method. You just snip the outer leaves, and the plant's center will keep producing new ones for weeks, even months. A wide, shallow bowl or rectangular planter is ideal for this. You don't need a lot of depth, about 6 inches is plenty, but maximizing the surface area is key to getting a big harvest. My favorite way to plant is to forget about neat little rows. I just scatter the seeds generously over the surface of the moist potting mix, like I'm sprinkling salt on a dish. Then I cover them with a very thin layer of soil, barely 1/8 of an inch. The real secret to getting great germination and tender leaves is consistent moisture. I don't even use a watering can at first, I just mist the soil surface daily with a spray bottle. This keeps the seeds from getting washed away and provides the perfect, gentle hydration. But enough about leafy greens for a moment. Let's dig a little deeper with a root crop that gets unbelievably sweet when kissed by frost. If you think you know what a carrot tastes like, but you've never eaten one harvested from cold soil, you're in for a shock. Just like spinach, carrots respond to cold by converting their starches into sugars to protect themselves from freezing. This results in a sweet, crunchy, and intensely flavorful carrot that store-bought versions can't even touch. The key to growing them in containers is honestly depth. You absolutely need a pot that's at least 12 inches deep, and even deeper is better. This gives the root room to grow long and straight. If you try to grow them in a shallow pot, you'll end up with stunted, forked little nubs. When choosing varieties, look for shorter types like Paris Market, which are round, or Danvers half long. These are much more forgiving in containers than the super long Imperator types. And here's my pro tip for perfect carrot soil. Mix some cocoa peat or coconut coir into your potting mix. Carrots need a soil that is incredibly light, fluffy, and free of any obstructions. The cocoa peat keeps the mix from compacting over time and holds moisture evenly, preventing the roots from splitting. It creates the perfect 5-star hotel for your carrot roots to grow straight and true. You'll get a harvest that's as beautiful as it is delicious. Planting garlic in the fall is a classic gardening ritual, and it works brilliantly in containers. November is the perfect time to get your cloves in the ground, allowing them to establish strong root systems before the real deep freeze of winter sets in. For garlic, you'll want a container that's at least 8 to 10 inches deep to give the bulbs plenty of room to swell. A 5-gallon bucket or a fabric pot of a similar size is a fantastic choice for growing a decent amount. The biggest mistake I see people make is planting the small, wimpy cloves from the inside of a garlic head. Don't do it. The size of the clove you plant directly correlates to the size of the head you'll harvest next summer. Always plant the biggest, fattest cloves from the outer edge. Plant them about 2 inches deep with the pointy side up and the flat root side down, spacing them about 4 to 6 inches apart. Here's the bonus that many people miss out on. While you're waiting for the bulbs to mature, you get a second harvest. In late winter or early spring, you can snip some of the green tops, which are called garlic scapes or green garlic. They have a wonderful, mild garlic and onion flavor and are incredible when chopped up and added to stir-fries, eggs, or salads. It's a fantastic way to get a taste of your future harvest while you wait for the main event. Kale is the undisputed heavyweight champion of cold hardiness. This plant doesn't just tolerate frost, it seems to actively enjoy it. A good hard frost hitting a kale plant is like a magic wand, transforming the leaves from potentially tough and slightly bitter into something tender, crisp, and noticeably sweet. It's the same sugar-producing survival mechanism we see in spinach and carrots, but in kale, the effect is dramatic. Because kale can get quite large, you'll want to give it a decent-sized home, and a 5-gallon container is a good minimum for a single healthy plant. This gives it the root space and stability it needs to produce a huge amount of leaves over a very long season. To keep your kale productive and happy, it needs a steady diet. And my favourite way to feed it is with worm castings. When you're filling your pot, mix a few generous handfuls of worm castings right into your potting soil. Then, every month or so, top-dress the plant by scratching another handful into the surface of the soil around the base. Worm castings are a powerhouse of slow-release nutrients and beneficial microbes that improve soil structure and help the plant absorb nutrients more efficiently. You'll be rewarded with a continuous supply of one of the healthiest, most delicious greens you can grow right through the coldest months. While we often think of peas as a spring crop, many varieties, especially shelling and snow peas, absolutely love the cool, moderate temperatures of fall. They struggle and shut down in the summer heat, so planting them in November in a milder climate or in a protected spot like a cold frame can give you a fantastic late-season harvest. The key for peas in containers is giving them room to grow both down and up. You'll want a pot that is at least 8 inches deep, but the width can vary. A rectangular planter box is great because you can plant a whole row of them. The most crucial element for growing peas, besides the cool weather, is support. These are vining plants, and they need something to climb on. If they're left to sprawl on the soil, they become prone to disease and pests, and it makes harvesting a nightmare. You don't need anything fancy. A simple trellis made of bamboo stakes and twine, or even just some sticks pushed into the pot, will do the trick. As for watering, be careful not to overdo it in the cool weather. Just stick your finger an inch or two into the soil. If it feels dry, it's time to water. But if it's still moist, just leave it alone. Soggy soil is honestly the fastest way to kill your pea plants. If there is one crop that I believe every single person should be growing, regardless of space or experience, it's green onions or scallions. They're just ridiculously easy, incredibly versatile in the kitchen, and honestly they take up almost no space at all. You can grow them in virtually any container, from a deep pot to a shallow window box that's only 4 or 5 inches deep. And get this, you can even regrow them from the white ends with the roots attached that you buy at the grocery store. Just stick them in a jar of water until the roots grow a bit, then plant them out in a pot. It's honestly the ultimate gardening hack. The best part about green onions is their cut-and-come-again nature, but it's even better than lettuce. To really maximize your harvest from a single pot, don't be afraid to plant them close together, just an inch or two apart. They don't form a large bulb, so they don't mind being crowded. When you need some for a recipe, don't pull the whole plant out. Instead, just take a pair of scissors and snip the green tops about an inch above the soil line. The plant will regenerate new green shoots from the base, often in just a week or two. You can do this over and over, giving you a perpetual supply of fresh green onions from a single planting. Cilantro is a plant that causes a lot of frustration for gardeners. The number one complaint, it bolts or goes to flower almost immediately in warm weather. But here's the secret, cilantro doesn't want to grow in summer. It is a cool season herb through and through. November is its happy place. Planting it now means you'll get weeks, if not months, of leafy harvest before the plant even thinks about flowering. It's the perfect time to grow this notoriously finicky herb and finally succeed. A container that's about 6 to 8 inches deep and nice and wide is ideal, as it allows you to sow a thick patch. Like lettuce, I prefer to broadcast cilantro seed rather than planting in neat rows. This creates a dense mat of cilantro that helps shade the soil and keep the roots cool, which further delays bolting. The most important tip for container-grown cilantro is soil moisture. It does not like to dry out completely. If the pot dries out even once, it can trigger the plant's stress response, which is to bolt and produce seeds. Aim to keep the soil consistently moist, like a wrung-out sponge, but never waterlogged. Do this, and you'll have a steady supply of fresh leaves for all your tacos, salsas, and curries. Beets are an amazing cool weather crop that gives you 2 harvests from one plant, making them incredibly efficient for container gardening. You get the sweet, earthy roots, but you also get the delicious and nutritious leafy greens. In fact, beet greens are very similar to chard and are fantastic when sautéed with a little garlic. For beets, you'll need a container with some decent depth to allow for root development, so aim for something that's at least 10 to 12 inches deep. A 5-gallon bucket can comfortably house 4 or 5 beet plants. A critical step with beets is thinning. Each one of those wrinkly beet seeds is actually a cluster of several seeds, so you'll often get multiple seedlings sprouting in one spot. If you don't thin them, they'll be too crowded to form proper roots, and you'll end up with a tangle of leaves and tiny, disappointing beets. Once your seedlings are a few inches tall, go through and select the strongest one in each cluster and snip the others at the soil line with scissors. Don't throw away those thinnings. They are your first micro-harvest, tender, delicious additions to any salad. This little bit of sacrifice early on pays huge dividends in the end. So now you know exactly which crops love November and thrive in containers, from the frost-sweetened spinach and kale to the fast-growing radishes and the non-stop green onions. You're armed with the knowledge to turn a small space into a productive powerhouse, even when the days are short and the air is cold. By mastering container gardening, you've taken control of your food source, proving that the gardening season never really has to end. You can step outside your door and harvest fresh, organic food that tastes better than anything you can buy all year round. But here's the twist. If you want even bigger harvests, more vibrant plants, and roots and fruits that are packed with even more flavor, the secret is in the soil activator you use. All the tips and tricks we talked about today are fantastic, but they are amplified tenfold when your soil is truly alive and teeming with microbial activity. It's the difference between a good garden and an absolutely epic one. This is the next level of container gardening that separates the beginners from the pros, and it's simpler than you think. It's not about buying more and more bottled fertilizers. It's about creating a self-sustaining ecosystem in every single pot. In the next video, I'll show you the ancient mixture that turns any pot into a nutrient factory, unlocking the full potential of your soil and your plants. It's a game changer that will fundamentally change how you feed your garden. You won't want to miss it. See you there.